Hey, what's going on, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so sitting here, minding my business as I always do, thinking about various things that could help the league of the NBA particularly. And one thing that I think I've been seeing a lot of is what I would say is a misevaluation of talent as it pertains to what players are doing and are expected to do going forward. Like, you guys have heard me destroy the couple of different moves that have been made with players like Rudy Gobert and Patty Mills, moves that I thought just did not properly represent what it is that I feel they're going to be doing going forward, or what have you. Just misrepresentations of the value. And I think there's a it may seem silly, to be honest with you, but if I were an owner, one of the solutions that would be available to me is to play fantasy basketball. Seriously. And I mean that because what you will find is that you will know who is playing well every night just by default, and it'll be kind of a fun thing to do because you be in competition in doing so. It's a fun little thing that I've been doing for years. And the thing about NBA basketball, fantasy basketball rather, is you got to keep up with the rosters. You got to, make sure your rosters are intact every night. You got to set them up and all that. But I mean, if you're a billionaire, I'm not doing that. I'm hiring somebody to do that. But it should be a part of your equation in evaluating the league. Because the thing about being an owner is you're always being told what guys are doing by a GM, by scouts, by this or that. And you can't possibly understand as much as the scouts are paying attention to. It's impossible. You can't, you're not going to know what the greatest young talent in, overseas is doing necessarily if you're an owner. Those kind of things, a little more difficult to keep up with. But the league itself, this season, if you're an owner, that's not hard to keep up with. No, all you need is a couple fantasy teams with different players on them. You get enough of those teams, you're going to know who's playing well every night, because you're going to have those players represented on your fantasy basketball teams, and you're going to have a bunch of players every night that you're going up against. You're going to see their stats as well. It keeps you current. That's the bottom line. And I want to encourage ESPN to make it so much easier for us to set our lineups up, because having to do it every month really does, every day and every week, one by one, it deters the process. You go to Yahoo and you press one button, they take care of the whole week. ESPN must upgrade that for us, please. And I promise you, you'll get so many more people if you add that feature. Just make it easier to set the damn lineups, please. So that's what it needs to happen. I think every owner, and I say the owners because I don't think everybody else has time. To be honest with you, coaches don't have time to do this. Scouts definitely don't have time to do this, et cetera, et cetera. Players ain't got time for all that. But the owners, in my humble opinion, they may be able to strategically hire people to take care of all that, so that they can just see their teams, have it projected to them, so they can see the results of their teams, see everybody's stats on these teams, everybody's stats necessary. Because a lot of times I find looking up stats for each and every game is a hassle. And the reality is, in fantasy basketball, guys who aren't playing that well aren't basketball relevant, so you're not going to have them on your team. You're going to get rid of those guys because the best way to do so is to play the waiver wire. So that's why I would say, like, you get someone professional to run your team for you if you're an owner. But the point is, you want those reported back to you, so that you can see how guys are doing. So there ain't nobody telling you, hey, this guy is balling. No, he's not, because I saw how he's doing. He ain't doing good. I watched his stats for a whole 3 months. I owned him on my team. This dude was not as consistent as his representation is trying to make it seem he was. Now, granted, that's not enough, because you need to know other things. It's not just about stats. But if you're an owner and you want to have a general understanding of how guys are doing, that's an easy way to stay engaged in such, while still having a good basic understanding of who's doing well and who's not. You know what I'm saying? Because I can tell you right now, that's what helped me over the years understand certain tendencies of when a guy's about to either fall off or to break out, or understanding certain things about certain players and stuff. It's not because I watch them every night. It's impossible to watch everybody every night. It's too much to cover. That's why NBA fantasy basketball, to me, is the easiest way to keep up with everybody, because I'm not trying to check 15 stat lines every night. I don't need to do all that. I just need to know who were the main players, and I need to know who were the guys who were ultimately relevant. And so if you have a good fantasy basketball player who knows what he's doing, who plays the waiver wire properly, a really, really good one, like I would suspect a billionaire would hire, he's going to make sure he has all the young talent on your team that's playing well. He's going to have all the good guys. You're going to know who's been hurt, all this stuff. It's going to be managed in such a way to where you'll have a good understanding of who's actually productive. That's the key, what I'm trying to say. Who is providing production? So that's what it's ultimately about. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, like, for example, and I'm just going to say a name respectfully because it just helps, but the Brooklyn Nets would have known DeAndre Jordan should not have been signed if they would have had fantasy basketball relevancy in their lives, because they would have known that dude ain't putting up no stats. He ain't even being used. So you're not going to sign him at all because he's not someone who you expect to help you anymore. You know what I mean? As opposed to if you're not playing fantasy basketball, you're not really paying attention to all that. Somebody might tell you, yeah, we saw him. He's still balling. He still got it. Okay, give him a couple $1 million. You get him here, he can't do nothing. Maybe you didn't know he couldn't do nothing because he was on some team that you don't have any, real attentiveness toward. Fantasy basketball kind of makes it easy, in my opinion, to kind of come to certain conclusions such as that. And you start realizing who's really surging as well. Players that I was able to see had a lot of upside. For example, I was aware of Isaiah Hartenstein a long time ago because he had a couple weeks where he was fantasy relevant, right? So I was able to pick up on him early. Or Jae'Sean Tate. As soon as Jae'Sean Tate started showing real relevancy, I was aware who he was before he even really became a player that we were aware of in the NBA like that. But it was like one of those situations. It was like you could see, okay, Taylor out of Indiana, yeah, he's been balling for the last 2 weeks. Who the heck is he? Now I know who he is. Why? Because I'm fantasy basketball relevant. These are the type of things that help you understand who just broke out. Jalen Green had a bad rookie season, but guess what? In the last couple weeks, he started looking like the player you think he's going to look like. Most people remember that? Absolutely not. But if you play fantasy basketball, you already know it. These are the type of things that help you understand that Jalen Green is probably going to make a very big jump next season from where he was last year. These are the type of things that you would have no inclination of unless you followed the Rockets, checked the boys' stats, all of that. None of that. If you just only paid attention to what was there for us to pay attention to early on, you won't know that he surged at the end. You won't know that THT surged at the end. You won't know that Russell Westbrook surged at the end. These are all things that I learned from seeing those players have fantasy basketball relevancy at the end of the season. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you, it helps you evaluate who you should welcome to your franchise if you're an owner. Trusting people is one thing, but to have your own direct understanding is best, in my opinion, especially if you're actually investing your own hard-earned. Come on now. I want to have my own understanding. I want my advisors to have some understanding, but I want my own base of an understanding. And I think it's a fun and easy way for a billionaire to get that information without looking at just stats, all these stats. It's fun. So that's what I want to encourage. And fans too, of course, all of us. But I think it's a tool for those who need to know. That's a way they can do it on their own and enjoy it or whatever, in a way that most importantly can be efficient and then getting simple information that they can digest quickly. So that's how I look at it. So I want to suggest that, man. It's been something that I've enjoyed a lot and it's helped me a lot. It has. Just like playing 2K helped me learn the game a lot too. Watching the game, playing the game, but playing 2K helped a lot as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's available to us to learn things that weren't available to learn in the past, including how best to manage our expectations for our teams, how best to desire the right things for our teams so that we can be our best and not want players like, no disrespect, DeAndre Jordan when he's a little past his prime. So we'll know to want a young player that maybe we never heard of that has upside and maybe has super long arms or something, but you never heard of him. That's the type of stuff we should want. We should be looking that way going forward as common fans. I don't want to dig into the past for old players. No disrespect to these guys, but it's like, no, we need to be thinking forward because the game is evolving and the next crop of guys are going to be bigger, faster, stronger, and better than the guys previous. So we need to be thinking that way as fans. So that's my opinion. You know what I mean? I know that's not going to be popular for a lot of guys who are in the league trying to stay in the league, but there's room for y'all too. You know what I mean? I'm just saying though, if we're going to evaluate talent, we just have to be accurate and let the chips fall where they may. So in my mind, I'm going to take youthful exuberance and all of that over wear and tear in a lot of cases, especially if I'm trying to build my team. So that's what I got to say, man. That's pretty much it, man. Play fantasy basketball. Please, ESPN, please hear me on this. Fix that fantasy basketball format. I want to be able to set up a whole month at a time. If you do that, you're going to get a flood of new people, man. It's going to be so much easier. And granted, we still want the ability to do it every day because obviously you need to be able to adjust every day. But I want to be able to leave for a month and not look at that damn thing. And if I'm able to do that, oof, so much of the tediousness that takes away from the fun is gone. It's just simply gone. So that's what I want to say, man. So I got video 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.